Hi everybody, Tellis Katsogiannos here, product developer at Guideline, and I'm super happy and proud to be here to introduce our new range of fly fishing kits, which is called Embrace. The Embrace series covers 8 different models from the 9'5" all the way up to a 14-footer double hand. All these kits are ready to go, which means you have the backing, fly line, and even the leader is already attached in the kit, and they all come in one of these super nice rod and reel case. Starting in the migratory and salmon range, we have the 11-foot 7/8 switch rod. Note that this is a double hand rated switch rod, but is still user friendly as a single hand if needed. This kit contains a weight forward multi-tip fly line, which is a floating integrated line, and the tip that's included is an intermediate 10-foot 7-gram one, and in front you have the leader, so you're ready to go. Looking at the 12-foot 7/8, it's more of a traditional double hand rod. It's still on the light side, perfect choice for smaller to mid-sized rivers, salmon, sea trout, and even steelhead. The most all-round rod in the double hand range is the 13-foot 8/9, which will cover perfect from smaller, mid-sized to even larger rivers. And the 14-foot, the 9/10, is of course the big gun, which covers and will cope with any larger river and sinking line if needed. If you want to learn more about salmon and migratory fishing by swinging flies and all that kind of things, join me by the river and I will show you some of my best tips and tricks. Okay, so the first thing when you actually approach the river is try to avoid showing yourself too much for the fish and the environment. You never know where the fish is or where their focus is. You're not really thinking about there might be a fish close to the bank. It might be. So when it comes to wading as well, try to go through the pool at the first turn by being close to your own bank. Because for example, as we have right here, we have a very nice edge very close to us. So if I walk and wade out to try and reach the other side, the first thing I might do is actually destroying a very good fishing spot that's very close to me. So try and have a game plan when you walk through the pool and put out a strategy. That will definitely give you more fish. When it comes to flies, there is equal amount of theories and approaches as there are salmon anglers, and regardless of what fly you actually choose, it's the belief in the fly or actually fishing it correctly that is the main or most important thing. Of course, there is some scenarios where we can see that, okay, this seems to work more than the other. For example, when it comes to choosing the right size. If the river is very high, it's very cold water, or even if it's very dirty water, the fly can easily be even bigger than this, has more flash, more contrast, because we want the fly to actually show. When we're fishing, for example, midnight or the dusk hours, big classic sun rays, for example, especially in big waters, fishing it high up as a silhouette. It comes down to even, flies in this size for low water, sunshine in a clear water, like a tiny banana. For me, it's the size and depth, and in the end, how I fish the fly, I think is the most important. When you start fishing a pool like this, where you have the depth quite close to us, and even when you don't, when you have nice currents close to the bank, always start by doing short casts, and then you gradually elongate your cast, and then you move downstream. So for example, just starting with like the tip and a little bit of the belly, if you see that's a nice swing, just fish that through, and then you gradually increase the line, and then you will move downstream. There's a lot of times you just see people ripping all the line out and throw to the other side, and you're actually missing out on potential fish close to yourself. So always start short and then gradually move into the distance that you're going to fish when you're fishing through the pool. So you might have heard of something called mending, and sometimes we overdo it and sometimes we don't do it enough. It depends on the water, how the current is. The more even the current is, the less we need it. But even so, in a place like this, we still need to control by moving the rod tip around. So for example, if I want to slow the pace down, cold water, high water, heavy current, I move the rod upstream. And you don't even have to do a very powerful mend. Just a nice, smooth little lift of the rod upstream will a lot of times be enough. Like so, for example, just letting the line settle it in, and then just lift the rod up. That will move the line into the position or angle you want to swing in. Then you just follow it by moving the rod tip down and just following the line. If you feel that the pace is going too slow, then you just move the rod towards your own bank. That will speed up the line instead. So depending on how the water moves, we are constantly moving and changing with the rod tip. That's how we control the fly. I think that is one of the key ingredients to a successful fishing, is to actually move that rod tip and have the mindset, where's my fly and what is it doing? And that's by looking at the fly line, that will give me an indication of that. So if I'm just throwing this out and I'm looking at the clouds and I don't think about anything, I have no idea what my fly is doing and where it is. So try by controlling. It doesn't need to be big, powerful, overdoing mends. Sometimes it's needed. If we have a very heavy current, you will notice that that little small movement might not be enough. We may need to make it larger. And sometimes in the opposite side, inwards, it's too slow. The water is that slow that we might even need to start retrieving line to add speed to the swing. These things, they will come naturally if you're curious and try out different tactics when you're fishing through the river. But remember, controlling the line with the rod tip in your hands, that's key for successful fishing. Salmon fishing and fishing with a double end rod is just like any other fly fishing. It's a lot about the fly cast or getting the fly cast to work. And as we're doing anchored casting, which is like different types of spey casting with double hand rods, there are a few key points or important things to know about. So I'm just going to give you two of my most important things to get you going by the river. One of the most important things in all fly casting is to have what we call it line tension, feeling that line. If you can feel the line, it is pretty easy to move it. If you don't feel the line or the load, so to speak, you have some sort of slack in the system. If that line is uneven or full of slack, it's very difficult to move it with great efficiency. So try to keep that in mind. Always feel the line. That is the line tension. So in a spey cast, if I start with my rod tip low and just slowly lift that line out of the water, it is pretty easy to, as you can see, moving that line. Try to play around with it. Cut off the hook and play with the line. Then you will find what I'm talking about, the line tension. The second thing, we need to be able to redirect the line, which is called the direction change. We need to get this D loop behind the rod to be in the direction I want to cast it. So if I'm putting my line here and I will try to cast it here, this will happen. So if I want to cast the line across the river, I need to have that line here. So if I'm doing what I said in the beginning, feeling that line, lifting slowly, having tension, just move your body, and it's pretty easy to actually place the line in the mirror image, in the opposite direction. So keep those two things in mind. Tension, nice and smooth, if you feel the line, then it's easy to move it. So when you have these two things working, which is tension, feeling the line, I can move the line towards where I want it, then we have a crucial thing which is in all fly cast, and that's timing. Timing is crucial, and that's one of the most common errors we all struggle with. I still struggle with timing sometimes, applying power, for example, or acceleration. But in this case, what I'm talking about is the timing of the anchor and the D-loop to get it in the right direction. So when I lift that line and I move my body, there's the anchor, and there's a small pause to get that anchor to stick enough and to redirect the line towards where I want it. So have that as a third thing in mind, a very crucial thing in all fly casting, timing. Let the line do what it's supposed to do before you move it in the opposite direction. So slowly lifting that line, having tension, lift it, turn my body, wait for the anchor, and there you go. As your casting improves and your distance improves, which it will gradually and quite fast actually, you will need to learn how to deal with all the shooting line, the line management. There are several different ways you can collect the lines in different fingers, etc. But one of the easiest way to do it is to just take all the line in, and from this point, just put it in half. So just fold it so you have a double loop. Because the reason why I need to do that is to make this resistant less. Because if I just pull all the line in, it will drift downstream and I'll get too much resistance when I'm trying to shoot. So you will lose a lot of distance if you do not collect your line. So the easiest way to do it, sometimes it will tangle, but even so, it will do way better for you than just leaving it. So just pull it in, take two of these, or one, so you have two loops, and then you do your cast. In different water conditions, different time of year, we need to adapt by changing the line or changing the tip of the line. The tip that's included in the kits, which is an intermediate, will cover most of the season. But what I'm facing right here is very high, very cold water, which means that I need to get that fly to get a little bit slower through the pool, and I needed to get it down a little bit deeper. So what I've done now is I've removed the intermediate tip that's in the kit, and I've taken out one of our Guideline tips that we have, which has a much more sink. And what I'm going to do now is loop to loop this other one. So to make this in the right order, always have this saying in the back of your mind: the old one, which is the one, the belly, goes into the new one, and the new one is the new tip that I'm putting on. So I've done this, and then you take the front of that tip and push it through the loop, like so. And then just pull it all the way through. And the reason why it's important to do it in the right order is otherwise that loop will not slide through this nicely like this one. So with this heavier sinking tip that I have on right now, I'm going to fish through this rapid water much better. Okay, so now you can see that I'm on the other side of the river, which means that if I'm doing a single spey, I need to put my left hand up instead of my right hand up. So doing a single spey on this side can be quite difficult in the beginning until you get the casting in order in general. So there is a shortcut to be able to cast on your wrong side, which is called a double spey. And the point of that is we still need to align the anchor and D-loop towards my target. So I need to put that line upstream here, then I can sweep that around, get that anchor and D-loop in the right direction to be able to cast it out. So again, just slowly lift that line upstream, put that down, sweep around, anchor, and do your forward cast. If you want to learn more about fly casting and spey casting in particular, make sure to check out our masterclass and tips and tricks about spey casting.